In this lesson video, we're going to go ahead now and write the actual code that will execute once the timer has elapsed, which will cause the next activity to load. So what I'll do is switch back over to the splash activity.java file, and we're going to go ahead and create a new intent. And it's very similar to what we saw on the Android manifest file, where we had an intent to load the first activity. We're going to need to create an intent here within our code. So above the timer task here, I'll do it on line 16, I'm going to go ahead and create a new intent. I'll go ahead and type in intent, and I'll just call this intent equals new intent, and then in the parentheses I'm going to go ahead and say this for the context, and then what I want to actually load is the main activity.java file, which is the main activity.class that I want to load. So I'm going to type in main activity.class. And I'll go ahead and end that with a semicolon. And I'll go ahead and hit enter. Now I have some issues here. I see the intent needs to be imported, so I'm going to go ahead and choose import the intent. And what I'll need to do next is, once this timer task has ended, I actually need to open up this main activity class file. So what I'll do is, within the run method here, I'm going to go ahead and add in the new intent to start. And so to do that, I'll call the start activity method. So start activity, and in parentheses I'm going to go ahead and type in intent. Now that's the name. Let me first go ahead and end that with a semicolon. That's the name of this intent right here, which is going to load main activity.class. And I currently have an error. That's because I need to change the modifier of our intent to final, so I'll go ahead and do that. And now everything is loaded. So after 7 seconds, the main activity should load. Let's go ahead and test our work. I'll go ahead and choose now for the tip calculator to run, and it's asking me if I want to save my changes. I'm going to go ahead and say yes, and switch back over here to our emulator. And now that the tip calculator is loading, we should see the splash screen tip calculator, and this should last for approximately 7 seconds. And then you'll see that the activity is now changed over to hello world automatically after 7 seconds. So let me go ahead and switch back over to our code, and just as a recap of what we did was we created a new intent. I named the intent with a small I, and for this intent we're going to go ahead and use the main activity.class, which is, if I switch over to the main activity.java file, this is the name of the class right there, public class main activity, that I want to load, which is everything in here. Let me switch back over to the splash activity.java file. So this intent is going to be used to work with the main activity class. I went down here, and in the run method, which is part of our timer task, and in the timer task we're going to go ahead and, after our 7 seconds, which we had set up here earlier, after our 7 seconds has elapsed, we're going to run this timer task, and the code that's going to run is going to be located within the run method, and it's going to run start activity, which is going to start a brand new activity for us, and it's going to be called intent. And now I want to add just a little bit more code, not to the splash activity, but I'm going to come over to the main activity.java file, and we're going to handle the code for not when this activity is created, but later on for whenever the activity becomes restarted. And so I can do that by adding the onRestart method. So I'm going to go ahead and type in protected void onRestart, and have the opening curly brace and hit enter, which will cause the closing curly brace to be added. On line 17 here, I'm going to go ahead and type in super.onRestart and put a set of opening and closing parentheses with a semicolon. Okay, and that will conclude the code for this lesson.